Welcome to the Chris Medellin podcast, and I am excited to introduce all of you in the audience to my favorite person, and I can't wait to introduce you to Yessica Molina. Yessica, thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me.
This is amazing. So I'll tell you a quick story. I usually do this of why I asked you to be on the podcast, but I think one of the biggest things about this podcast, we're doing a breakthrough series where we're talking to diverse professionals. And the reason for that is because I noticed that in our industry, we have an underserved market of individuals that are professionals who are hidden and undervalued at the companies that they're with. And a lot of times that's because the people that are running those companies don't have an understanding of diverse individuals. And I ran into you at an event in DC. I was speaking on a panel at a NAREP event. And for those of you that don't know NAREP, it's a Hispanic association that's really grown in huge popularity in the real estate market and mortgage market. And you were there, and I saw you from across the room, and you just had swag. I mean, you had the cool hair. What you were wearing. I was like, I would buy what she was wearing. You were wearing, just the way you dressed. It was like I saw a different version of myself in you, and I was like, I needed to meet you. And so we did like an on the spot quick interview. And I liked what you had to say, and I was like, I really want to give you a platform to tell your story, because I know that there's people out there that share a similar experience as you that need to hear your story. And I would tell you and I were talking before the podcast, but there's you who you were, at 18 and 17 that could really have used the inspiration of hearing your story and have that person to get you. So if we could reach out to, one or two people who are out there that share a similar upbringing and similar background as you, I thought that it would be really cool. And you're a real estate agent.
Correct.
With Next Gen Real Estate. You're from Mexico.
I am, yeah.
Zero accent. But so you're from Caborca, Sonora, Mexico. Right. You live in Goodyear, so you are truly.
So I used to live in Goodyear, so now I live closer to the central area.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Okay, so Central Phoenix. So you're serving people who need help finding a home in Central Phoenix, West Valley, and I'm pretty sure you'll take East Valley if it made sense. And then you're kind of an up and comer in the real estate world, and you have a really good social media platform. I love what I'm seeing. But you're from Casa Grande, so from a small town in Arizona, and eventually made your way up to Phoenix. And here is the one thing that also hits a box for me is that you're part of the LGBTQ.
LGBTQ.
I knew I was going to mess that up. The LGBTQ community. Right. And so we're going to edit that, and we're going to make that sound like I just said it off my tongue. But you're part of that community, and so you're Hispanic, and so there's got to be a lot that comes along with just growing up like that and trying to find your way in the world. But what really resonates is not necessarily what I see is not necessarily a person that went through struggle. I see a very confident, a very poised, a very professional individual. And I'm impressed with that. I'm in awe of this strength that you've had. And today is really about hearing the journey to that and how you got there. Because there's somebody right now that's unsure of themselves, that feels weakened by this and is trying to figure out who they're going to be in the world. And they're going to listen to this, and you're going to provide them some inspiration and hope that you can come out the other side the way you have. So thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, well, thank you for that introduction. I was like, who are we talking to? Who's gonna come in here from a small town?
Yes, it's you. It's you.
It's me.
Yes.
No, I mean, I'm just happy to be here, happy to share the story, because it tends to happen a lot, right? Maybe not so much in the Hispanic community for me right now, but more in the LGBTQ community.
Interesting. Okay.
I've seen where maybe now the generation now doesn't get hit by so much hate.
Okay.
And it doesn't, break them down like it used to.
So you think as a culture, and even like living in Phoenix and being in the where we live, you feel that we've come a long way from where we were.
Absolutely. I mean, I think I was the millennials, as in my generation, I think we just got lucky enough for all those other individuals in the LGBTQ community to have fought as hard as they did. To even when I was, graduating from high school, I felt okay being who I was.
So let's talk about that, if you don't mind, because that's the story I want to hear. So you grew up. I mean, we live in a border state, so
Right.
we've always been around Hispanics. It's a big piece of our culture, and you come from a small town, which I would imagine your high school, you weren't the only Hispanic there.
Yeah.
It was a pretty. I would imagine it was some
very
diversity.
diverse.
Yeah, very diverse
diverse,
group. So, but then you're coming up as somebody who's figuring out themselves and, having to go through that. So you were comfortable in your skin back then?
I was not.
Okay.
I was not. You know what? Because I grew up in a Christian family.
Okay.
Right. And we all know that whole other issue. But, I grew up in a Christian family, a very loving family, not so, it was more about the relationship, that one had with God instead of
Absolutely.
The whole thing. So I think that made a big difference on how I grew up. But I was not as confident as I was, or as I am right now.
Yes.
I was actually more quiet. I think I was more weird than cool.
Yes.
I was more weird than cool.
Okay.
But I was also very quiet and very shy.
Yes.
Because I didn't know who I was. I mean, this Yessica that you see now, it's a long time coming. I mean, even if you see pictures of me 7 years ago, 5 years ago, like you see the transition of, who I am now and how I speak, how I present myself.
Yes.
But, even then it was just that little hard to get to.
Yes.
So, but overall, I mean, I was very blessed with my family.
So, family is Christian family, and they probably had to come to terms with them with this whole you coming out and accepting you as who you were. And who you are. And did you ever feel like there was any bit of like them? Did you ever feel ashamed of it going through that, or did you ever feel like a sense of you didn't belong or anything like that with your family specifically?
So absolutely. I mean, not in a way where I felt hate.
Okay.
Luckily for my family, it was. I want to bring out a moment. Well, I don't know if you've seen this. It's called the Umbrella Academy.
Mm-mm.
No. So there's in the third season. I don't know if who I'm speaking to. Hopefully they can
Yes, okay.
resonate with this.
Yes.
But in the third season, where one of the characters transitions,
Okay.
all he says is, "Hey, this is my name now," and his brothers are like, "Oh, okay, that's it." And he's like, "Yeah," and they're like, "Oh, okay." You didn't have, okay, that's cool. Like that's who you are now. So that kind of almost felt like that was my past.
Oh, okay.
Because again, we weren't very religious, but we were just part of,
Understood, yeah.
Going to church and all that good stuff. And it wasn't something that they hated on me for or anything like that. I think, obviously there's always, I can't find the words, but there's always that part of shame because you feel like you've done wrong.
Yes.
Right, to what we see, how we should grow up as Hispanics and all of that.
Absolutely. We have a very, there's a very machismo, like it's embedded in the culture, even if you're female. It's embedded in the culture, and we have this kind of
we have our roles.
We have like, we're haters, on top of it. We're just talking shit about everybody, right? Like, I mean, it's a part of the culture, and so to be different in the culture, there's going to be some level of whispers that are happening. How did you deal with that?
And there was, but you know what? It wasn't because of my parents. It wasn't because of my close, relatives, my first cousins, things like that. Not because of them, but everyone else around, right? Because, well, there goes, Yessica, that one girl, or she's the daughter of my cousin and all this stuff, But, it wasn't hard to shut them down just because I felt so much love within the circle of my home. Right. Even my grandmother, I mean, she was that type of Christian that she would pray every night. So just bawling her eyes out, prayed for everybody in her family for 2 hours every night.
Oh my gosh.
Right. So
does she have one of those, what are they called? Like the altar, or not the altar. Yeah. It's like where you have, I guess it's like an altar.
I guess it's an altar. So no, not necessarily, but she just would I remember, because I would spend my summers in Mexico.
Okay.
Right. So I would spend my summers in Mexico because obviously I grew up with very hardworking parents. So in the summer, what do? You take the kids to Mexico so grandma can take care of them. You
gotcha.
Keep working.
And you keep working, yes.
Yeah. So grandma, I remember her praying for everyone. but my grandma was one of those persons that never really spilled hate or spoke hate. So all she would just say, "Oh, con la muchacha," like with your girlfriend, with the muchacha.
Okay.
So it was very
kind of asking questions, like just kind of okay.
But I was no, but that's the thing for me. I just got very lucky.
Yes.
But for anyone out there that's hearing this, like if you have that love and support, even if it's not in your immediate family, stick to wherever that circle is, because that's going to help you go past all the other noise.
How does, because I think it's more common for people to find that their family isn't accepting of this. And so what do you recommend in terms of, how do you find a community of people that are going to, support you and give you that love? I mean, especially if I'm like 16, 17 and I don't, I can't even go to school and tell people I can't, like, how did you get through that? I mean, I know you had the love and the support from your family. How old were you when you realized, that it was important enough for you to let people know?
I think I was, middle of junior year.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's probably,
Yeah, so I was pretty young, but I mean, I had, my friends, my best friend, she was always one of my biggest supports, still is to today. But I think it would be, I know it sounds cruel, but it would be letting go of whoever doesn't love you because of who you are.
Yeah. Well, I think that's extremely important and I don't think that we talk about that nearly enough, but there are toxic people in your lives, and they could even be your husband, your wife, your brother, your sister, your parents could be the toxic people in your life that you need to get out in order for you to, create a life for yourself that you can break through and become successful like you.
Right. I mean, and it really is. And it does happen to be sometimes a family member so close and you're like, why they're blood? Well, they're only blood, right? If they don't support you with who you are as an individual, they don't deserve space in your space.
Yes.
Obviously that's easier said than done, but it's crazy because once you let go of one, you can let go of two. And then you say, well, leaving them or putting them aside, maybe not seeing them every day, but maybe seeing them once a month, once every 3 months, that makes a difference in your life, how you feel about it, whatever you're going through.
Absolutely.
Right. Whatever you're going through, but you just have to be able to just leave one person out and say, you are too toxic to be around me.
Yes.
Because
I love that.
You're not in my space.
I think that's important. I think that's important. I think if anybody's listening that, it's for anybody really. I mean, if you have toxic people in your life, the only way that you can break out of that and get to the next level is by cutting that out, because there's too much negativity in the world to then have somebody in your circle that's just adding to it. So,
absolutely.
So you're also you're also probably not probably, I think you're defined as a dreamer in the sense that you were born in Mexico. You have now been you're what did you call it? You're now
well, now I'm a naturalized citizen.
And so how did so in terms of that process, do you feel like that's ever held you back, or do you feel like, and I'm trying to figure out the best way to ask this, because a lot of times it wasn't until I was much older and looking back on situations that I realized that maybe the color of my skin or the way that I looked held me back, or I was treated differently in situations. It was like, and when I realized, when I kind of turned the lights on to that process of my brain, it was like, wow, like, there was these wow moments. But have you ever felt that who you are has held you back, or you've been treated differently because of it?
Yeah. I mean, do I keep them right here so that I can remember a story for you? No, but I have. I mean, obviously, being the skin color that I am has definitely had some roadblocks. But I think, it's funny because there is very roadblocks, because of who we are, color of our skin, where we come from, things like that. But I think how you were saying, I'm finding myself moving that chair and sitting at that table.
Yes.
So yes, I've had those moments where I'm like, well, dang, is it because I'm brown? It's not my fault. I tan really good. Right?
Yes.
So there is, but I guess I could say, I don't allow those moments, even though they do hurt. They do hurt because you're like, dang, like I'm probably the coolest cat at this party, and just because of this, right?
Yes.
But I think we have to start seeing it as their loss.
Yeah.
Because, I think our Hispanic communities are very fun,
Oh,
very
absolutely,
loving.
yes.
We do talk shit a lot.
And it's growing.
You know?
It's growing. I mean, I think that, I don't have statistics off the top of my head, but it's become the biggest segment in real estate.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then there's like, I was talking to a loan officer in Las Vegas, and she was talking about how she's like, I want to, the Hispanic community is a hard community to serve. Right. And because there's so much that the way that they hold money and cash, and you have to underwrite that a different way. And, there's so much complexity to it. But if you do it the right way, then you get them, you get their friends, you get the entire family. You're there at their house on weekends, and there's a community that comes along with that, right? When you help, and you can really show somebody the path to home ownership. It's one of the best things about being in this business. And I was telling her, but why aren't you promoting a higher level of income bracket? Like, you have these amazing jumbo products. She's like, I've never thought about it. So she started doing it, and she ended up doing a deal for like a very popular Mexican wrestler that lived in Vegas, and it was just because there's this other community of people that have money, that are in the market, but they also want to work with somebody who's very similar to them, and the market is lacking it. And so, I think for you and your business, do you notice, like, how do you attract your clients to you today? I mean, what have you done to really get people to know you and recognize you? How do you get your clients?
Well, recognizing me is pretty simple.
Yes,
right?
yes.
So we were talking earlier in my Hispanic community with the realtors, mortgage lenders, things like that. Well, there's very limited people that look like me.
Yes.
Right. So I get lucky on that side.
Okay.
I would like to
but
say.
that's a brand. I mean, I think that your look, was that a thought process put into, I am going to look different on purpose?
No, I think
it's kind of like a peacocking thing. I think it's like you.
It kind of was just born. I was kind of just like, again, going back. If you see my pictures, like there's like a transition.
I really want to do this. I don't know why I didn't do this. I should. So if we do this right, we need to put the before and after.
No, let's not do that.
We're gonna find them. Yes.
But you can definitely see the transition of it. I think I just wanted to be the person that I envisioned for myself.
Yes.
And doing so, I got lucky enough to be one of the few.
Yes. Okay.
Right? So it wasn't something like, I'm just going to do this because that's what I want to look or want to whatever. And no, it was just, it just came about because that's who I wanted to be as a person.
Okay.
So
I love that.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's really nothing crazy about that, but it's just that I just wanted to be me. And luckily I was now the only.
Who is your perfect client that you like working with?
So going back to the person that you were talking to about their Hispanic community, and once you work with one, you work with the whole family. It is completely true. Mm-hmm. I've had moments where I've been able to deal with individuals with like a bigger income bracket, and it's fun, but it's also very boring.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
So I like to stick to the people that are very much like my parents. That, came here, brought their kids here, their kids go to school, and then they have jobs, and they hardly ever see their kids, but they want to be able to get a home. And maybe those parents, they don't have, documents. They're not documented.
Okay.
But their kid is.
Yep.
Right? I have one specific family that I truly love their story because it would have been very similar to mine. We just got lucky that back in the 80s, my father was able to get his what is it? His permiso, his permit or something to be here. But this family, they don't have, they're not documented.
Okay.
But their kids, their daughter bought their first home like about 2 years ago.
Yes.
And this girl, I mean, we're the same age, and she just works her butt off. And she's gone to school and she works her butt off. And the parents at the same time, obviously they work. And they were able to save this amount of money to be able to have the daughter qualify and then gift the money so that they got like a home.
Amazing.
And those to me, they're the perfect clients, or the clients that, we really have to, it's a lot harder and I understand that, but we have to teach them to, even to start their credit? Like, what does that
Absolutely,
credit mean?
yeah.
What does that mean that I have to pay interest on this?
And that's the challenge, right? It's the challenge. So when you're on the loan side,
Right.
when you're dealing with a client that needs that path, you know, it's so important that you have a financial path, because it's not something that anybody's going to teach you in school or anything like that. But a family that lives in a home that they own has a much higher success rate, almost double than a family that's renting.
Right.
And moving and, you know, being disrupted. And right now rent is so expensive, especially in our market, that finding a home and affordability and having that option is critical. And so building that path of, you have to create credit. You have to have those options. How do you work with your clients to get them to do that? Because do they usually find you first? And then they go, you know, then they got to figure out the rest of it. How does that normally work?
Yeah. So back to your question before. So I've been doing, since I got my real estate license, I've been doing Facebook Lives.
Okay.
And you just get who you get.
Yes.
You know, sometimes I'm like the Yessica that's full of jokes, and sometimes you're the Yessica that's very professional.
Yes. Okay.
And sometimes
this is so good. Yeah.
You get the mix. But they found me through Facebook, and it's funny because I tell everyone, I'm like, I have a following of doñas.
Yes.
On Facebook.
Okay.
Like, you don't understand. Like,
Yes.
the doñas will call me and say, hey, I told my husband that in 3 years, when we're ready to buy, or in 5 years, he's gonna call you.
Yeah.
Like, these doñas are like, they're like my defense team. Or something.
Yeah. You got a fan. You got a fan.
Yeah, I got a fan base, and I think because they see a lot of their kids
Yes.
in me.
Okay.
Right, because again, going back to the dreamers, they're all about my age. I was just one of the lucky few ones that was able to get documents. But so they find me through Facebook. And normally it's funny because, and they'll also see me in, you know, I'll be out and about. One time I was sitting at, it was Colados, the one over there on Indian School on 107.
Okay.
And this lady's like just staring at me, and I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, am I sitting at the wrong place?
Yes.
Or am I sitting in her spot? And it's funny because she looks at me and she's like, Yessica. And I'm like, okay. Like, yeah, Yessica. Hi. She's like, you are on TV. And I'm like, I'm on TV? She's like, yeah, you're on TV. But on the phone and el teléfono. And I'm like, oh, okay. She's like, I'm going to buy a house with you.
Yes.
And they're like, I don't know how, I don't know when.
Yes.
Pero voy a comprar casa contigo. I'm going to buy a house with you. I just want to say hi. And I'm
yes.
like, okay. And it's happened to me so many times. But I think because I am who I am on Facebook Live, and that's the purpose of my Facebook Live. Because I think when we try to display ourselves, because I get it, the industry we're in, we deal with a lot of money and stuff like that, but we deal first with individuals.
Absolutely.
And
the community.
And you know what? When I go Facebook Live and I just show who I am at that moment, I think it allows people, it shows my vulnerability.
Absolutely, yes.
But then it also shows people that, hey, I can just call Yessica and have a conversation.
You're accessible.
Yeah, I'm accessible. And I've had calls when they're like, Yessica, ¿cómo estás, mija?
Yes.
Like, they talk to me like they're my aunt or something. And
Oh
I'm
my
like,
gosh,
I don't have their number saved,
Yes.
obviously. So I'm like, I'm good.
Yeah.
Hi. And they're like, okay, well, you don't know me, but I know you.
Yes.
I see you on Facebook all the time. And
Because you become, like, in a weird way, you become a celebrity
right.
to them, right? And like she said, you're on TV. Well, you are. You're effectively, you know, showing up. And how much does it cost you to go live?
Nothing.
Exactly.
You know, I've always been asked this, and they're
It's
like, well,
nothing.
yeah. And they're like, well, how much do you pay? What do you pay for ads? And I'm
Nothing.
like, honestly, I do it organic. I've always
Yes.
done it organic. And the right people contact me. I can't say that I've had a client. Well, maybe I've had like one or two where I'm like, bro, I have no idea how we've been matched up because we
Yes.
are not good together. And that's okay in this
Yes.
industry. You know, you don't have to sell to everyone.
Yes.
You don't have to, you know, help everyone buy.
Yes.
But I have gotten a clientele where we're genuinely drawn together as individuals, besides whatever business transaction is going to
It
happen.
all comes down to energy. I mean, I always say this, whenever I hire somebody that works here, they'll go to new hire and they'll call me or they'll text me and say, hey, you didn't tell me about any of this stuff that we have. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not, because I wasn't selling you. It's like, if we connect and if there's chemistry there,
Right.
then usually that's why people make a move or come and do business with you. That's the prerequisite to everything. But social media has given us the ability to go meet people without meeting people.
Right.
That's why people can walk up to you and say, Yessica, I saw you on TV or I saw you on this, and treat you like they know you. And you're like, I've never met you, but cool. Like, because it's working.
So I've had to teach myself on how to just say, cool, like you in your mind, you present like you've already met them because they have already met.
How often do you do this?
So my Facebook Lives, we do them once a week.
Okay.
We do them once a week. We've shortened them up.
Who are you doing it with?
It's just my team member.
Okay.
Just my team member and I. I mean, we don't do anything crazy. We don't pay for anything fancy. I think I just got some Rhodes. I got Rhodes. Now I got the ones that you can like just clip on.
Yes.
It's just easier because I move a lot. And
like, absolutely. Okay.
So I turn corners really fast or I'll turn back.
Are you doing it like from
just a cell phone?
Oh, cell phone. You're doing it all from cell phone. Okay.
Do it all from cell phone, a stand. Maybe if it's a really good topic and we're having a good amount of people on, we'll probably go about, I think yesterday's was like 17 minutes. 17
minutes,
yeah.
okay.
But we have an idea of what it is. I don't have a script.
Okay.
Okay, so I know for some people this is scary, but I don't have a script. I go off kind of an idea. Yesterday was, hey, I'm going to talk about what repairs you should consider doing when you're going to sell your house.
Oh,
right?
okay.
If you're going to accept FHA loans, VA loans. So I just I have an idea of what I want to talk about. And because I've had 7 years of experience in inspections and all this stuff, then I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to take the knowledge that I've got from this, and I'm just going to share it to people genuinely.
I love that.
Right?
I love that.
But it makes it funner. I don't ever present myself as a know-it-all. I think yesterday I was like, oh, the enchufe, what is it called? You know, and she's like, the outlet. I'm like, the outlet.
Yeah,
you know?
I love that. Okay, but that's how people feel. It's those moments that people feel like they get to know you.
Right.
And you have to be your authentic self in every one of those scenarios. So how long have you been doing the Facebook Lives?
Man, so I just restarted them last year. Emotionally and everything last year was hard.
Okay.
So I just restarted them, but I've been doing them literally since I got my license. I've been doing them, and I've been trying to be.
How long have you had your license?
Since 2017.
Okay, so since 2017, you've been figuring out a way to talk to clients and through Facebook.
Right.
Okay, so how many? Do you have a track number of how many deals you've closed from that?
Honestly, if I can just give you like a percentage of all the ones I've closed, I think, man, it has to be at least like, I think I want to say like 80%.
80% of your business, of your income comes from a Facebook Live.
Yeah, and the only other reason it would not is because it's referred
from somebody you closed.
From the Facebook Live.
So then it's like, so it's almost 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, this is genius, right?
And so I don't do anything fancy. Like that's what people don't like. That I'd like to come across. Like I don't have anything fancy.
So did you start off? And I want to go and find these and watch them. I'm mad that I didn't. But
I have the first two, because I was one of the first realtors to start doing this.
Okay.
It's scary. It's scary just to not have a script and everything. So I forgot what page I was collaborating with. It was when I first started. But he would record me and I would go do the walkthroughs. One of them, my biggest views, one of them was 40,000 people.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And I'm like I really didn't know what I was doing at that moment.
40,000.
In that video, I remember I said, and this is the garage door.
Yeah.
It opens and closes.
So you're just like, because you're just trying to fill it out, right? You're just trying to.
Man, I have no idea what I'm doing. Obviously, by that time,
God, I want to go see this one. I got to see this one.
So it was that one, and I have another one of 20,000. And I'm telling you, like, I was just in the art community and the Hispanic community. I think I was one of the very few that started with Facebook Lives.
Nice.
So it got really fun, like and it still is. Obviously, things have changed. How Facebook, the algorithms, and all that stuff have changed, but it's still very fun. And maybe I don't get 30,000 calls, right? Yeah. But you get one, and that one is a good call.
That's the one, yeah.
Right, and that's all we really need. We don't need 1 million callers. We just need the right few that already like you, and you don't have to sell it to them. Right? Yes. I don't have to say, this is why you're going to work with me.
Yes.
No, like they already love me.
How has it evolved? I mean, how has your personality evolved from the first one to now?
I still talk about the garage door
opening and closing. Okay. Yes, this is so funny. This is so funny.
But I think I'm just more confident with it because I was lucky enough to be raised by a man of many, many traits. So I know a lot of things that you wouldn't expect a girl to know, right, about construction and all that. My father, if it's not broken, he'll break it to figure out how it works. You know, he's just that type of person, and I was always around him.
Yes.
So one, I got that. And then also when I first started, before I had my license, I started learning, wholesaling, but also flipping.
Okay.
We would sell these properties to hard money buyers.
Gotcha.
Right?
Yep.
So always looking for that needle in that haystack. So I think I just got the knowledge from, seeing properties.
Yes.
When I first started in real estate, seeing properties broken down and built right up.
Yep.
So I think that makes it a lot more funner, especially when I'm going to go show a house and
Absolutely.
I'll look at a fan and I could say, well, the $50 fan in this $1 million home looks great.
Yes.
And I think to me, people probably look at me and they're like, well, that was a dick say.
Yeah,
That was really rude to
Yes.
say, but it's the truth. It's a $50 fan. And I think even if I say it's because of a $50 fan, most people are going to say, oh, how'd she know it was a $50 fan?
Yes.
Right. So I think just the confidence, and because I've been able to do the transactions I've been able to do, you can definitely see the confidence in those videos, like as they change. And obviously the outfits have changed a lot.
Yeah, that's what I want to see. So like, you're one of those things where it's the situation that happens is I run into you, and it's like when you buy a car and then all of a sudden you see all the cars, right? So it's the same thing with you. I saw you, but I've only seen this version of you. So now there's this very much curiosity to see who you were, what the evolution has been. But yeah, so you're building a brand on a couple of, it has a lot to do with image.
Right.
It has a lot to do with, how you present yourself and how you present data. Did you take how would I put it? Did you give a lot of thought into, I'm going to build a brand based on these things, and then everything's going to match that? Or did it just kind of happen as you've built it? Because you're very much helping the community. Yeah. You're helping Hispanics. There is a segment of people that you go after. Not to say that you're not helping everybody, but I'm saying you're attracting a certain group of people. Was that well thought out, or did that just happen?
I knew I wanted to serve the Hispanic community. Okay. Because of the way that we grew up, right?
Tell me about that. Like, why is that important to you?
Well, just, growing up, when we came, over here on this side, we grew up in trailer parks. We grew up with very little knowledge. As we grew up, I remember that my parents, we eventually got to a place where, and this was, I want to say this was in like middle school. We eventually got a place where we had land, so it was like 13,000 square feet, the outskirts of Cascran, and we had our trailer, right? And that was like, and they finally paid it off and everything. And then obviously 2008, my dad was making really good money, obviously, when the market was really good. And then they buy their first home in a really nice area. I remember living very close by my mom's boss's house, which was like the job that she got when she first came came to the United States and stayed there.
Wow. What did she do, by the way?
So she used to work at a restaurant. Okay. Family-owned restaurant. She worked there for like about 14 years.
Wow.
Right?
Hard labor. I mean, that's
restaurant
job,
work is always going to be the hardest work, but it's always going to make you the best salesperson. Yes. Because you're going to deal with a lot of personalities. You're dealing with a lot of personalities. Yes. Yeah. So, and I remember 2008, like we had a home, we had everything, and we were like, oh my God, like I was like, my parents did it. They did it. And then obviously 2008 comes and they lose their house.
You say obviously, that there's no obviously. It's not supposed to happen that way, right? Yeah. But so it happens, and what is that? How did your family talk that through with you, and how old were you at the time?
So I was 2008. I had to have been like about 17, 16.
So you got a lot going on at that time.
Yeah, a lot going on. I mean, luckily, my dad was always a very frugal person. He still is. So he never sold the trailer and land. He never wanted to. Okay. And he told my mom, no, like it's just going to at least be there, right? He wasn't thinking it's an investment. He was just thinking the safety net. Because as a Hispanic, we're always like, oh, the safety net, safety net. Yeah. Right? Which holds us back.
Always planning. It does hold us back, but I agree.
It holds us back in a lot of things. But luckily, that planning, we were able to just sell that house, or I think they did a foreclosure, and we just went back to that. So I just remember my parents not having the education. Now, if I look back at it, they didn't have the education that they should have had to be able to even maybe negotiate something else, or or, just anything.
It's amazing how much how much help there was available. But if you don't have the education to know,
they don't know.
It's like so many small businesses didn't take advantage of the free money that the government was giving during COVID and went out of business. But it was there. It was there. Just people didn't know how to use it or didn't have the resources to know how to use it.
Right.
And
so when I go and I get these clients that are very similar to my family, like I do the best to educate them. I go as far as to show them what that Flex MLS looks like. And I said, this is what every realtor has, and this is how it works. And I teach them, I teach them in a process of how I do my work, right? Gotcha. Even when I go show when I go do a listing presentation, I pull out my laptop and I say, this is how it works. This is how we do the comparisons for your home. I'm teaching you this because hopefully this is not the last house that you're going to sell. Mm-hmm. Hopefully you're going to be able to get more properties and sell more properties, but at least even if you don't call me, you're going to be able to understand how they're getting to that number and if it's correct.
Yes, it's amazing.
Yeah, so that's how I teach my clients. I teach them as if they were my parents.
Well, I think that's a big thing, that you're educating and you're using education as a tool to put them in a better situation so that they can make better decisions, whereas maybe the other person wouldn't do that, right, or would, just kind of brush off that and say, I'm doing my job, you let me do my job, To educate somebody is where longevity comes in. If I'm smarter when we leave this transaction, then I'm most likely going to come back to you because there's a relationship. And every time you could teach somebody something, it's more time you're spending with them, and you're just deepening that relationship. And so I love that you do that. It's what I wish, my parents, they still live in a house that I grew up in, and I wish somebody would have taken them by the hand and explained this to them, and walk them through it, because that didn't happen.
Right. Yeah. I mean, but it makes it funner. A lot of lenders. I see this with a lot of lenders, even agents, that all they want to promote because they think it does get the phones to call, right? Which is your down payment assistance programs or zero down or whatever. But here's the thing: they just tell them, it's an easy cash for the agent. It's an easy check, for the agent, and simple as it can get for the lender. But they didn't educate the person because they were scared to lose them if they said, look,
absolutely.
Instead of you getting, because I'm sorry, but most Hispanics, they have money put away somewhere, right? And for a lot of us as agents, as lenders, we're scared to say, hey, just put your own down payment.
Yeah.
Right? But we're scared to say that because we're not willing to educate them on it. Look, this is what it is. I'm going to tell you A, and I'm going to tell you B. If at the end you go with A, that's fine. But my conscience is clean that I taught you what B
Absolutely.
Could be better.
Absolutely. I mean, it's an interesting thing that you say, but the right way to do any sort of mortgage transaction is to provide options and education so that the client has the best opportunity to decide. And I do think that there's a lot of lenders that know 15 and 30 and that's it. Yeah. They just know 2 loan programs and you're going to get in one of these, and I'm not giving you any other options. And I think you miss big opportunities because, to your point, if I knew that I can save $50 a month, which is a lot of money to me, by putting a little bit more money up front, and you didn't give me that option, that I needed to know that. And that's important, but you're right. I don't think it comes from, it could come from some laziness, but it also, I think, comes from a fear of losing.
It comes from the fear of losing it to someone else.
Yes.
But you know what? I've had moments where they're like, no, all I want to know is down payment assistance. And I said, that's fine. And you can choose down payment assistance, but I'm going to teach you this way. And you gain a certain respect from these individuals, especially going back to the machismo in our Hispanic community. Oh, I have, the dads, and they love me.
Yeah.
And they love me. They're like, mija, como es? Like, and it's just, I build that, maybe because I have that really good relationship with my father, maybe they feel that as well. But because I'm very just straightforward with them, and I don't pee around the bush, right?
Yes.
I'm just like, this is how it is, whatever. I think it gains a certain respect where, why would they go somewhere else?
Exactly.
And I think as long as we remember that if we educate this community, they're going to stay.
Yes.
And if they don't stay, I mean, they probably didn't want to do business with you anyway.
Exactly. You didn't have the deal to begin with, right? So where do you go from here? I mean, in terms of like your career and what you're building, where do you want to see it? I mean, let's plan out like the next 10 years. Where do you, if you can envision where you're going to be, what does that look like for you?
So, I don't know if I should answer this for anyone just yet, but so I love real estate. I truly do. I want to get to a place where, I have something set up to where my team members, to where I'm just kind of doing more of being in front of the camera.
Consulting.
And just being in front of the camera, having the numbers call in because they want to, work with Yessica or whatever. Having a team behind me that can take care of everything else.
Absolutely.
Because for me, that's the fun part. It's just talking to a lot of people.
Absolutely.
Just being out there. And I'm okay with that, right? From there, I do have other projects that I want in my personal life.
Gotcha.
So I would love to be one of those persons that say, oh, real estate is 120% in my life. It's really not. I love real estate. It's given me a beautiful lifestyle. It's given me time.
Yep.
Because I've learned to say no when I have to say no and turn off the phone when I say
So real quick, and not to interrupt you, but do you feel like you're at a point where you get to choose now the clients you want to work with versus when we were younger, we took on everybody because we were trying to get the deals?
I got to tell you, I was my first year when I got my real estate license, my first full year, I was like rookie of the year and all this stuff and blah, 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 blah. And it was fun. And I made more money than I could have thought that I could ever make, right? Okay. Especially because I was like super broke.
Yes. What were you doing before you got into real estate? I keep asking you more questions.
No, you're good. So before I was in real estate, I was a massage therapist.
Okay.
And that's a whole nother story. I don't know if we have time, but that's a whole nother story.
I'll make time because that's going to be a good story, but go ahead.
So I was a massage therapist before this. Imagine me, right? Really just, this is about that time. That's kind of already who I am.
Yeah.
I'm not as, clean cut as now, but I was still very loud, very outgoing. But I'm in massage. But growing up, at the age of 18, I started doing direct sales.
Okay.
And to me, and maybe not everyone can agree, but to me, that's the best school.
Absolutely. Everybody should go through some sort of sales training.
Everyone. Go sell Avon.
Yes.
Just tell your kid to go sell Avon. Like, I know it's still around. Because it teaches you a lot about the word no. Yeah. And it teaches you a lot about being, something that I heard a lot was, you're going to be brainwashed. Well, freaking hell yeah, I'm going to be brainwashed because I don't want to be your guys' brainwashed, Yeah. So it taught me a lot. And as I continued, and I still did, I think, direct sales until about a couple years back, but because I loved it, right? And I really did enjoy it, and I learned a lot. So I knew I wanted to become a massage therapist, and I had a whole dream for where this massage therapy is going to take me.
Okay.
Right? Kind of like Massage Envy and Elements Massage.
It's amazing. It's amazing how limited our brains were back then.
Right.
Right? Like, it's weird to think that was the motherland to you, right? Like, because massage therapy is one, it's incredibly hard work.
It mentally, physically, just everything about it was.
I get to go in and go for an hour, and then you got 8 more clients after that, and if you're at a Massage Envy, you're high impact, high touch. You got to be exhausted at the end of the day.
And you have to be exhausted, not just physically, but mentally, because I've always been going back to energy. I've always been a person where if I don't care for you, I'll just say hi and I'll just turn away. You don't even get a joke out of me. You don't even get me being sarcastic to you, because that's But my energy was so vulnerable. I would do 8 massages and I was drained, not because of like the physical labor, but because of everyone's energy and what they're releasing when they're.
Oh my gosh! Yeah,
what they're
I never thought about that.
That's amazing. That's a whole nother world.
Because then you're almost in a weird way absorbing it.
Yeah, you are.
And if you think about that energy, not all of it's good energy.
Nope.
So crazy.
There's sometimes where I would have been in a massage and I would come out. I'm like, cool, yeah, I'm ready for the next one. And then the next one, I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like I can't. Like I'm so tired. I'm very drained because it goes a lot with energy. It really does. But when I was doing massage, I just knew. I got to a place where I was working for a spa, and it was a really good spa over there in Chandler, and I made decent money for my age, and I was living in Tempe and all this stuff. But I knew I could never have the financial freedom that I wanted in my life.
Okay.
Because of all the brainwashing that I got from direct sales, multi-level marketing.
Gotcha.
Right.
Yes.
So I just remembered one time well, it was that moment. I still have that picture on my Instagram way at the end. And it says, I will never work a 9 to 5 again. And I quit that day. And that day, it was just such a release of everything.
Yeah, good for you.
But it was so much fun. But real estate came into my life when I made a decision that I was just not going to work for anyone else. It didn't come easy, right? My real estate journey has not been easy. I've been broke many, many moments.
Yes.
But I knew that I did not want to work to 9 to 5. And I knew that at least something was going to come up in my life that was going to give me that opportunity, because I was already taught, right? At the age of 18, going to, I don't know if you know ACN meetings. There was another company called Secret, these big.
You were getting trained by some of the best multi-level sort of marketing firms.
And I was hearing it. So it was a brainwash that allowed me to take that step and say, you know what, I'm just going to follow her. I'm just going to drop it.
Well, because what those teach you, it's a weird thing, but if they teach anything, it's insane amount of persistence and follow-up,
right?
But how to deal with rejection and how to overcome objections.
Right.
Overcome, and they make you test it. They make you, role play it. And it's some of the best schooling, I would imagine, that if you're going to be a multi-level marketing, or you should at least try some sort of sales before you enter the workforce.
Anything. And I like a lot of people are going to say, well, no, like it's all fake. It's a pyramid. Who cares, bro? You're there to learn. You're there to learn to take a no.
Yes.
Like, you have no idea how much, like, I remember no's just hurt so much, you know? But so I was a massage therapist.
Oh my God.
Back to this.
I
was a massage therapist.
This is crazy. So did you get your real estate license before you quit?
Massage? No.
Yeah. So you quit.
So it was literally like, here's the table. And I said, I quit.
Yeah.
I did not know what was coming. I didn't even know, like, yes, I knew my parents had bought a house, and I knew we lived under a roof.
Yes.
Somehow, I didn't know real estate existed.
Wow. Okay. All right. So you find real estate.
So I find real estate, and we work with my family, and we did a lot of, we learned wholesaling, we learned flipping, things like that.
Yes.
So,
as investors, or did you do it for other people?
So as investors, but for other people as well.
Okay, gotcha.
Right?
Okay.
So just a mix. But I didn't have my license then.
Okay.
So it was consistently, like, my role was to get these wholesale deals and sell them to hard money buyers.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
And I'm talking about your Hispanic that has 20%, that has no other way of purchasing a house, this and this and that. So it was very tough, right? And then obviously I get my license, and something shifted because you let go of things. So we were talking about letting go, even as close as family members. I let go of something, and at the moment that I let go of something that was kind of holding me down or holding me under their space, right? Everything transitioned for me. And again, it's been a part, and I'm seeing this now as we're talking, but been a part of letting go of little moments, right? Of moments in my life. Sorry, like massage, I just let it go. Where I was at before I got my license, or when I got my license, and then just let it go. So, and those moments have carried me another stair higher.
It's an interesting way to think about it, because I've never thought about the things that anchor us, and this entire show is about breaking through, and in order to break through, a lot of times you have to be mad enough to break through. Like, something has to piss you off. Like, why am I not doing it? What is it going to take for me to just get to that next level? And there's one sentiment that's like, you're always one phone call away from that next big opportunity. And in your case, what you're saying is, for your journey, a lot of it was shedding, whether it was toxic people or something, or a project or something that's holding you back in order to increase forward, right? And so I love that thought process, and I think it's hugely something that people should take stock of, and make a list and say, like, what is in my life right now that I don't like, and are the people that are surrounding me actually helping me move forward?
Exactly.
And I'm sure that you've cut people out of your life that were hugely important to you.
Absolutely.
Or that and in some cases you couldn't believe that you were going to do it. So you get out of massage therapy, you get into real estate. And then do you remember the changing moment where you felt like, okay, I can do this? You hit a piece of success, and what was that milestone like?
Oh man, I got a lot of little parts like that. I can't remember a specific one, but I do remember. I'm like trying to think of a story here, but there's just been so many moments where one deal has got me to the next deal, and then just the moment where I actually start making, I guess, money to where I could say, "Wow, like this is fun." Like
you're not worried about bills anymore.
Like I'm not working deal per deal. I'm now working deals because it's fun.
That's it.
And I'm trying to remember that moment. It definitely came. So the way I saw when I first started in real estate, it was always that needle in the haystack. Needle in the haystack. I get my license, and I realized that all I have to do is the same thing I was doing before my license. And when I got my license, I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was the part of letting go that changed everything and allowed better energy into my life.
Well, probably because you realized that you had credibility now.
Right.
You weren't kind of like faking the industry. You were like,
now I'm a licensed person.
You've earned it. And it's not an easy thing to do, by the way. I've taken that test and I failed it
I failed it a couple of times too. And I tell everyone out there that they're looking at me and they're like, well, should I do my test? I'm like, do your test. I failed. Like, I was on the verge of having to retake my classes. Let's just say that. And the test does not make the agent. It really doesn't.
Not at all. You just forget everything you learned in the test.
I think I just know maybe what an acre is. Like,
yes. That's a good one,
5 something.
I failed it twice, and I was so embarrassed that I went to a different testing center.
Just so that they didn't see you again.
Because I was so embarrassed to go back. So I was like 3 days, I'm back. Yeah. So I finally went to a different one and passed it. But I would do it in Phoenix, and then I ended up going and testing in Gilbert because I was like, it's too embarrassing to go back.
That's kind of what happened to me. They're like, we have no space here. Like, you keep taking it and taking it. I'm like, well, eventually it's gonna happen.
It's gonna break through. Yeah, here you go. Yeah, so funny.
Yeah, puro panzazo. Right? That's what we say a lot in our community. Is that we did it at puro panzazo. It's like you just literally broke through, like barely.
So that gave you insane amount of credibility to yourself, because a lot of this is all psychological. It doesn't. The world doesn't care. No, it's really what you think about yourself that gave you the confidence to then see that there was a bigger future here.
Right. Yeah. Man, no, that's amazing. And that's all it is, man. And it's just, I wish there was a secret to it, but for me, it's really been letting go of things and people and situations and, like you said, projects that just don't fulfill me.
It's good.
And I think those are the steps that have put me where I am right now to be able to be this.
Amazing. I love it. What if you could give Yessica, 20-year-old Yessica, some advice, what would you tell her?
Man, I would tell her at that moment, let's see, what was I doing? Yeah, I was doing massage. So I think at that moment, I would tell her it was going to be okay going through all the garbage, meaning those moments where I was really broke and didn't know if I was going to keep my word of not going back to a 9-to-5.
Yes.
I would tell that Yessica, that yes, like you have to go through the garbage to show the universe that you do deserve the life that you want.
Amazing.
And that it's not going to be given to you. You know, your smartness is eventually going to come. You know, your smiles are eventually going to come out, but you're going to have to go through your garbage, just like everyone else.
I mean, do you feel like you've lived through a lot of turmoil and had your back up against a wall now to kind of recognize that your strength has always gotten you through it? Right.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's been many moments where I remember, and sometimes I'll even go down to Tempe and just drive where I used to live, because there's those little moments, and it's that feeling in like right in the pit of your stomach where you're like, I do not
ever want to get back there.
Yeah, like I'll go to I think it was a grocery store. I want to say it was a Walmart, and we barely had just enough to pay for and it wasn't chips or anything crazy like that.
You're getting milk and
food, and I remember looking at just the number climb up and climb up and climb up, and I'm like, oh my god, like, and I felt hot and I was sweaty, and I was like, oh my god, and it was just something that even to this day, it like makes me cringe inside. You know what I mean? Because it hurts so much knowing that if it would have gone $5 more, we weren't able to
You're like,
afford it.
you're going to put that away.
Yeah. Or the moment where, I mean, there were so many moments, the moment where my car got repoed.
Oh, yeah. See, that's what I'm talking about. Like, it's like those moments. So like when you're in one of those spaces where you're like, okay, I just got my car repoed. Like, what goes through your mind in terms of, do you go through a period where you're like depressed, or do you immediately get into like, I got to fight out of this?
So, at that moment when I was like 20 years old and all that stage, I just had to fight through it. I had to pretend it wasn't there. And I'm pretty sure I was depressed a lot of it because it hurts. Mm-hmm. Those moments really hurt, and they really affect who you are as a person. Eventually they'll affect you in a good way, right? Where you're going to be like, yes, it's cool, whatever. But at that moment when you're going through it, it hurts like hell.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm sure I went through, I remember my partner at that time, she was the one that was, it hurt her a lot emotionally. So I knew my role was to keep my face up, right? Keep my head up, keep my head up.
Yeah.
So I was lucky enough to have played that role in our relationship. Because otherwise, imagine we would have been too depressed.
Yes, you can't have that.
So I think that kind of gave me the strength to keep on going through all of my, my garbage at that moment that I had to go through. And it also helped that I was like the middle child.
Yes.
So that helped. So anyone that's a middle child, that is a Hispanic, and part of the LGBTQ community, you're going to make it.
You're going to make it. Yes. That's so amazing. I love this. So I want to thank you because I think that hearing your story, and I could pick through each of them and really go deep on, and we're limited time, but the fact that you were able to take time and drive, all the way over here to our studio to do this it means a lot to me. I know I always get text messages from people who hear the show and they'll tell me like, hey, that one really hit me. Yeah. And I can predict the future on this one because you're going to touch a lot of people that have been through that struggle and are going through that struggle. Right. And I hope that you're able to give them the strength and the courage to continue on. But I think the biggest thing with you is the fact that you have the confidence that you have and you've seen success. And I can't wait to see what you do next because it's going to be pretty cool to watch that. So how do people get in touch with you? Where do they find you?
Let's see. Obviously, phone is always the easiest. Mm-hmm. Do I give?
Yeah. Go ahead.
So phone number 480-669-5209. Right? Okay. Did I say that right? I'm going to take that one more time. So my phone number is 480-669-5209. Okay. They could also find me on Instagram, on Facebook, even through WhatsApp, because I had to get WhatsApp for the community.
Yes.
Every Hispanic has WhatsApp.
Yes,
they don't know what Google
WhatsApp,
is.
Yeah.
I mean, Gmail, but they know what WhatsApp is.
Yes. So, okay. So you get, Yessica Molina.
Yessica Molina.
And do you have a Facebook and Instagram, and do you have a TikTok?
I do have a TikTok. I'm trying to use it. I mean, man, just having to do this one and then that one and this one, and I'm like, and I'm trying to do
YouTube?
YouTube, no. I opened one up before, but then I realized that I truly just love doing live.
I love that. So she has a live show. If you find her Facebook, you'll get all the information on that. And, if you're interested in buying a home in the Phoenix area, take a look at and jump into one of her lives and check it out. I'm definitely going to go in there and heckle you a little bit. But I'm so proud of the what you've created, and I'm so proud that you have come in here to tell your story with such immense I don't know what the word is, but with confidence. And when I see you, that's what I think about. And I hope you know that, and I can't wait to see what you do next. And thanks for being here today.
Thank you so much for allowing me to be here today. I had a lot of fun. And if you guys want to hear more stories, always invite me back.
Oh, we'll do it. Yes, this will be fun. This will be fun. And by the way, I would love to do anything with you, collaborate. We got to figure that out. But yes, there'll be more. There'll be some more partnerships coming up.
Cool. I'm down.
Thank you so much.